You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 85. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go. Hey there! A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I wanted to make a few changes to the podcast and to my business as well. I want to shift the focus a little bit and focus more on helping women create a strong relationship with themselves so they can have more fulfilling and healthy romantic relationships. And this goes both for you if you are in a relationship or if you are dating and looking to create that relationship, or if you're going through a heartbreak, getting out on the other side and trying to get the learnings from this painful experience. I want to help you understand yourself better, love yourself more, feel more confident and worthy, more secure, stand by yourself more, be someone you can trust, be more proud of yourself, know how to validate yourself, and know what's important to you and stay true to that, whether that is inside a relationship or not. So that is going to be my biggest focus and what is behind all the other topics I speak about. So before I dive into today's topic, I have some very exciting news and two really important announcements to make. I have throughout the times been asked many times if I do group coaching, if I have a group program or a group course. And I've always answered, not yet, but I might do that one day. And I have myself been in several group programs as a client, and I've experienced what it's like and how empowering and inspiring it can be to be in a group of like-minded women who are going through the same challenges. So I've been thinking about it for a while, actually more than a year now, and I have to say, this is something I really want to do. And I really see so much value for the clients in a group like that. So I'm going to offer a group program in feminine energy in dating, and I'll tell you why I have decided to do a group program, and then I'll tell you also why I have chosen that topic. First of all, it is so encouraging and reassuring to be in a community where everyone has more or less the same challenges and want to achieve the same goals. This is already important because it can feel lonely to be dating, and especially if most of your friends are in relationships and maybe they don't understand why you find it so difficult and why you are still single. And this can make you feel like there's something slightly wrong with you and you start doubting whether you are too picky and so on. When you are in a group, you have a lot of other very cool women like yourself who can show you. It's like there's evidence that you are not alone and there are others who go through the same and there's nothing wrong with them either. Then it's also very helpful when you see others get coached and they all have the same thoughts or the mind blocks that you have, and you kind of get coached through them because you get coached when you see someone else getting coached. Every time we are ourselves in the hot seat, every time we are getting coached, and that is even if it's a one-to-one setting, part of our brain is a bit defensive, so we're not as open to taking in the coaching. And that's only normal. But when we see other people being coached on the same issues, the same challenges, we can be much more open to really listening and taking it in, and we can get transformations just by seeing someone else getting coached. Also, sometimes I've experienced seeing someone who raised a question and got coached on something that I didn't even know I needed myself. I didn't know that before it was raised by this other woman, and I could see I had the same issues myself. And then it's also really inspiring to notice how we all have different ways of responding and different mindsets. So you will see some who approach a challenge in a very resourceful and creative way that you can then feel inspired by and try to have the same approach yourself. So this is something I personally have found very, very useful. And even being an introvert who doesn't necessarily raise my hand on every call, I always got a lot out of seeing others being coached or hearing the response to other women's questions. And I have thought about many times how my clients could benefit from knowing each other. That if I created a group where everyone would join, that I knew that there would be some who could inspire someone else, and then they could help the other persons in another way. So this is something, of course, I can see from my side of the table, from my chair. And I really feel convinced that many of you can benefit from each other when you meet in a structured setting where we do both some teaching, some mentoring, and some coaching. And then, of course, one last but not least important argument is that it makes coaching and mentoring more accessible, as the investment is usually lower for a group program than it is for a one-to-one program. So my intention with the program is to do some teaching and then a mix of Q&A and coaching. And I want to just make it absolutely clear that the main part of this program will actually be teaching. I will be teaching you the concepts of feminine energy. So it's going to be something like 60% teaching and then the last 40% Q&A and coaching. Just so that you know, this is what I'm planning. This is what I had in mind with this program. So this is an introduction offer, and it will be a 4 weeks program where we meet once a week on Zoom, and the calls are recorded so that if you can't join, you can always watch the recording. And then what is very special about the program is that I'm going to add in a private one-to-one session for each participant. And this is something I think is sometimes missing in the group programs, because I like the mix of the group setting with teaching and coaching, and then a more personalized support and a chance to do a deep dive in your challenges, mindsets, or relationship patterns, or whatever it is you want to focus on. The program will be rolled out from the end of August or early September. The details are not yet decided, and the investment will be around 200 to 300 euro, which is a very special introduction price. And any future programs will not be offered for that price. You can try to look around and see for yourself, and I would say that most group programs, especially if there's an individual support like this here, where you get a one-to-one session, most of these programs are a much higher price point. And now a really important information, and why I'm even speaking about this program today, is that if this is something you've been thinking about, doing a group program with other women, and you want to learn more about feminine energy and be able to ask all your questions directly to me, then I invite you to sign up to my interest list, which is basically just saying that you want to be informed, you want to receive more information about the course, and you want to be invited to an information call that I'm going to do before launching the program. So right now, you do not have to make any decisions about joining the group program or not. You just have to tell me if you want to stay in the loop and be informed about the details about this program. And that could be details such as timing, exact content, and exact investment, and so on. So you can tell me that by signing up on the interest list. And there's of course a link to that in the show notes. Now, briefly, why did I choose feminine energy as a topic? If this is the first time you hear about feminine energy, I would encourage you to go and listen to episodes 6, 10, 38, 58, and 60 that are all about feminine energy. And of course, I talk about it in the other episodes as well, in between the other topics. But to say it very short, polarity, that attraction between the feminine and the masculine, what that means for you is that if you want a man who is himself in a healthy masculine energy, who is able to take some initiative and pursue you, then you have to be in your feminine energy yourself. And that can be difficult for many of us, in particularly strong, independent women. We are so used to be in our masculine, go-getter, problem-solving, and action-oriented energy in our daily life. And unfortunately, that not only doesn't attract a masculine man, it actually pushes him away. So There is a lot to be found out there online on feminine energy, but what I want to focus on in this program is the basic skills, the basic shifts to make to get into an empowered feminine energy and what that looks like for a strong, independent woman with feminist values. So, it's going to give you a deeper understanding of how a masculine man functions and how you can both become a match to him by accessing your own feminine energy, but also make dating much more fun and easy because it is when you are dating from the light-hearted, playful, and receptive feminine energy. So, all in all, I am so excited about this program and I really look forward to create all the details on it and rolling it out for you in a group with a lot of like-minded women who want to learn this and who want to be intentional in their love life and really get to master the art of feminine energy in a way that feels aligned with being a strong, independent, highly competent woman with feminist values. So, if you're curious, if you want to know more, if you want to stay in the loop and get the information, then sign up on the interest list. And again, the link is in the show notes, and I will also put it on my Instagram bio at Lærke the Love Coach. So, that was the first announcement. Now we're getting to the second, which is a reminder about my free video training, Chemistry and Connection. And this is, if I may say so, probably the best freebie I've created so far. It is a masterclass of 35 to 40 minutes. I don't remember exactly the number. And here I give you 3 simple tools. And if you choose to use these tools, you will have more success with men. To say it quite frankly, there's a high chance that you will be invited on a date again and again because these 3 things are something that a masculine man will love from a woman. And it's all about building chemistry with a man that you are dating and taking the connection to a deeper and more fun and interesting level, instead of just waiting for this to happen or dumping him after the first date because you didn't feel any chemistry. Create something fun and meaningful with a guy where you think he's doing all the right things, but you are lacking something. You are lacking the chemistry or the flirting. And I will say, even if you don't develop this attraction to him, even if after 5 dates you still don't feel this chemistry with him, at least you are going to have better dates and more fun. This freebie is available on the link in the show notes and is also on my Instagram bio. So hurry up and sign up. And also, when you sign up for this freebie, you will get a very exceptional offer that I have never given before. And to be honest, I don't know how long I will keep that offer available as it is really, really below my normal prices. So I definitely recommend you sign up rather sooner than later. Okay, so back to this week's episode. I believe there are basically, very simply put, 3 things that need to be in order for us to have a healthy relationship. And the first and most important one is the relationship we have with ourselves. And then the second one is having a life purpose, having a good level of life satisfaction and something that gives your life meaning that's outside the relationship. And then the last one is being intentional in how you show up and communicate with your partner and in dating. And that's of course a big one as well, but where a lot of it will follow from building that healthy relationship with yourself. In future episodes, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on all these 3 topics, and you will see how they are so intertwined and they're really important, all 3 of them, and work together to create the foundation for a healthy relationship. Because the connection you have with yourself will impact how you react in a conflict situation with a partner. What you do when you don't feel seen and heard. What you do if your partner does not feel satisfied. How you react when you feel insecure, vulnerable, or you doubt yourself. That will of course also depend on your ability to self-soothe, to know your triggers and express what it is you want from your partner. This is about being more conscious, about being more intentional, becoming more aware. And all the relationships you have in your life are reflections of the relationship you have with yourself. And especially romantic relationships, they are so closely related to your beliefs about yourself. We can also say that we attract or we allow or tolerate what we are a match to. And when we work on ourselves, we upgrade ourselves to match with a different kind of person than what we did before. So working on your relationship with yourself is the best investment of time if you want to make a lot of changes in your life, because it's the starting point for everything you do, especially the beliefs you have about yourself, what is possible in your life and what you deserve and what you can't do, and so on. Everything you create in your life can be traced back to your beliefs about yourself, your capabilities, and your role in this world. So, what does it mean to build a solid and healthy relationship with yourself? There are several things, but I thought about how can I give you something relatively simple. And by that I mean it's not complicated, but it's also not necessarily easy. It's just simple. Something that you can start becoming more aware of now. And there's a few things I want to talk about today that you can start working on your own if you want. And the first one is to shift your focus from external to internal, and especially in love. We tend to have a lot of external focus. We think about what he did and said and try to understand why did he do that? What does that mean? What is he thinking now? When someone is causing us frustrations, we analyze their behavior and maybe we vent about them to our friends. We try to figure out what's going on in our partner's head so that we can go in there almost and fix it, make them think in a different way. And we tend to ask much less, when he does that, how am I thinking and feeling? Regardless of his reasons or motivation, how do I feel? Do I want to feel like this inside a relationship? And why have I allowed this? What is the benefit for me when I allow this? Because there is almost always some kind of benefit we gain from accepting and tolerating behavior that we are not okay with. And that could be, for instance, something as simple as the safety of being in a relationship, avoiding the fear of being single again. I also hear this from women who are dating. It's so easy to be caught in talking exclusively about what the guys did and said. And there are much less reflections on why we accepted that and why we still made ourselves available to someone like that. We have a lot of external focus instead of taking a look inside. When we go to external focus, we become less intentional. We are no longer writing our own story. We let someone else do it. We give our power away. Now it's up to the other person if we're going to have a relationship or not. And we also avoid taking responsibility and making the uncomfortable decisions. So this could look like venting about a partner who's pulling away and acting avoidant, trying to overanalyze whether he's about to leave while we suffer in lack of attention. And we talk to our friends about how horrible it is and why is he doing this and what does it mean. And we are very clear in our minds that this is unacceptable. We don't want that kind of relationship. But instead of having that difficult conversation with ourselves about what we want to do about it, which, by the way, doesn't have to be ending the connection, but it could be having a conversation with our partner. Instead of doing that, all our focus is on his next move. Is he going to reach out or not? Is he going to change his behavior? And the moment he does reach out, we feel almost a big relief and like the relationship has been saved in the very last minute. And then we forget about everything that wasn't okay, and we don't have that conversation we know deep inside we should be having with our partner. Basically, we don't take our own experience seriously. We're not used to look inside. At least we're not used to honor and respect what we find when we look inside. Or if we are dating, we could be focusing 100% on how these men we keep meeting are just always emotionally unavailable. We'd feel like a magnet to this kind of man. Or the men we meet are just not potential partners. There's something wrong with all of them. And we might feel like a powerless victim who can do nothing about the problem because the problem is outside ourselves. We don't have access to solve it. Instead of looking inside and asking, why is it that I allow myself to engage in a connection or a situationship with someone where I clearly can see all the red flags? Or why is it that I always can find something wrong with the guys I meet? Why do I see myself repeating the same patterns? What is my role in this? How did I create this result? And how am I a match to this kind of men? This is uncomfortable. It's facing some hard truths about ourselves. Realizing that we carry part of the responsibility, but it's also liberating. You have the power to change your situation. Instead of venting about how men treat you, you can change how you show up and what you make yourself available for and what you accept. And instead of complaining about what is not working and why inside a relationship, you can ask yourself what it would take for this to work. What is the solution that is within your power? Not what you want him to do, but what can you do to shift the situation? And then, of course, what would be nice to hear from your partner or have them do? So if you have an internal focus, you are checking in with yourself once in a while. You sit for a moment and reconnect with how you feel. You journal if you like that. This can be very eye-opening and transformational to do some self-coaching by journaling. You decide to get really curious about your reactions. If you are sad, frustrated, or unhappy, then why do you feel like this? What is the perception of a situation that created this feeling within you? And why do you accept this? What are the belief systems you carry, maybe even all the way from childhood, that makes you think that you have no choice and you have to tolerate this? And what is standing in your way of finding a solution? And what could even be a solution? Shifting the focus to internal is a step to gain self-awareness, more clarity and insight. And then the next step you can practice is staying true to yourself. This is challenging sometimes, especially when a loved one wants you to compromise on some values that are important to you, and this person is important too. And I'm not saying to never compromise. That's not a solution in a relationship or in dating. The point in staying true to yourself is to check in with yourself, and when something really does feel like a deal breaker, like you cannot compromise here because it will feel like violating yourself and your boundaries, then you have to be true to you. You have to honor yourself. And this, of course, begins with getting really clear on what being true to yourself looks like. What are your values? What are your boundaries? What are the things that you are not willing to tolerate? And what are the things that you are willing to tolerate? Because let's face it, nobody's perfect. You sometimes have to tolerate imperfection with a partner, as they do with you as well. And then staying true to yourself means taking yourself seriously, not change your mind and step all over yourself just because someone pushes you. Stand by yourself. I don't so much like the expression of standing up for yourself because it makes me think of a fight, and I want you to think of a really calm and confident energy when you express a boundary or say no to something. Show yourself that you can trust yourself. Build that self-trust. And know when to compromise and when not to do that. Be intentional about it. Know your reasons for compromising or not. Know your reasons for tolerating or not. And be sure that you like those reasons, that they align with your values. So shifting to internal focus and staying true to yourself, those are two things that you can start working on in your daily life, actually in all relationships, not only romantic relationships. The third thing that you can focus on is starting to uncover your belief systems. This is challenging to do on our own, and beliefs are often very well hidden below the surface. But it's important because this is the programming of your brain. It's the GPS of your actions or behavior. And everything you have created in life can be traced back to a belief, whether that is, I can succeed at whatever I set my mind to, or I'm never lucky in love, or men always cheat on me, men always leave me, and so on. And many of those negative beliefs we carry can lead us into self-sabotaging in different ways. If you imagine that you carry a belief about not deserving love, for instance, not being good enough to be loved as you are, you could be experiencing what I would call a low-level, more or less constant shame from feeling not enough. And this could lead you to hide, whether that means just not putting yourself out there, not going out on dates, or trying to change yourself, putting on a mask, not showing your true self in a connection. And this can of course not work on a long-term basis. The truth always comes out in the end. You have to relax into your authentic self at some point. We can't carry a mask forever, and especially not in a close romantic relationship. And you could end up in a relationship with someone that once they see your authentic self, they realize that they don't even like that, or they don't like it as much as the version you put up from the beginning. Or if, for instance, you have a belief that all men are going to leave you, this could lead you to feel a lot of anxiety and insecurity in a relationship. And this, again, could make you have almost an obsessive behavior where you always want to check where is your partner. You want his validation several times throughout the day by SMS, or you start looking for small signs that he's pulling away and losing interest. And not only does this make you more anxious and validation seeking, you also don't enjoy the relationship when you are anxious. And here's what's also the case sometimes. You become more boring when your whole attention is on whether he's going to leave you. Your energy is tied up way too much in that question, and you are not that funny, confident woman you were when you just met them. And you could also, from either that fear of being abandoned or feeling not enough, which is of course closely related to each other, you could also be showing an extreme man-pleasing energy, afraid of stating your boundaries, always agreeing with things that he says and not having your own opinion. The behavior that follows from negative or self-limiting belief systems is often self-sabotaging, and you can be either creating a self-fulfilling prophecy or a trap for yourself where you have to abandon yourself in order to not be abandoned by your partner. But there's a lot you can change the moment you become aware of your beliefs. And sometimes awareness is already enough. Once you understand why you show up the way you do, you understand yourself on a deeper level, it's much easier to let those beliefs go. So now I gave you 3 things that you can start working on yourself. But it's also something you can work with a coach on. And often it's much easier for an experienced coach to see what's going on in our brain than it is for ourselves. So you can get more transformations and you can get them faster when you work with someone who can guide you and shine the light on the areas that seem dark and inaccessible to yourself. So if you would like to explore the options of working with me as your coach, you can book a free consult call on the link in the show notes or on my Instagram bio at Lærke the Love Coach. So this was all I had for you today. I hope you found it useful, and I would love to hear from you if you have questions or comments. Send me a message on Instagram at Lærke the Love Coach, and I'll see you next week. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.